Hello, welcome today. We are starting our cardboard sculptures today. Yesterday, I went over the criteria for this assignment. So, students are given only two 6x6 inch pieces of cardboard. And what students are to do with these two-dimensional pieces of cardboard, you are going to be cutting them into pieces and constructing them into a 3D form. Now, we went over different techniques like slots and tabs. We talked about gusset supports. We talked about scoring yesterday. So I want you guys to consider all those opportunities or options for your construction. Criteria for this assignment is that it has to stand up by itself. It must also be interesting and engaging to look at from all viewpoints. So it's not just going to be looking good just from one side. You have to consider all sides. And it has to stand up by itself, so it can't fall over. And you only get, again, two 6x6 inch pieces. Does not have to be 6 inches in any dimension or height or anything. It can be a little smaller, that's fine, but make sure you are utilizing as much material as you can. Now, our sketches yesterday, what we went over, you are to develop 3 sketches, and each one of these sketches you're going through the same process. You're going to do this for every project in this course. For example, for sketch number 1 or idea number 1, we went through the 3 components of developing ideas. So we went over this diagram. We talked about subject, content, form at the beginning of the semester. You're going to use that as a tool to help you develop ideas. So the subject is what we start with in that triangle. And that can be like a person, place, or thing, or a theme. So I chose nature. Then I thought about person, place, or thing, and I wanted to do an object. And then I developed the idea of a mushroom. So from there, I looked up an image, for reference, a photograph of a mushroom to better understand that subject matter. So a visual sketch or study of that object from a photograph for learning about it. That helped me understand shape and form of it naturally so that I can start thinking about how I'm going to construct it in cardboard. So with the brown, I then did a little sketch starting out with a stem. I create a cylinder shape, and we discussed scoring, how you can slit it in different ways so that it rounds it. So I made a cylinder as a stem. I did a base starting out with just a square as I was brainstorming. Later, I developed it more of like an organic shape at the bottom to keep it upright. Another option, I can always do flanges to keep that base secure on that stem. I decided to do for the cap of the mushroom, I decided to do a pizza pie with a slice cut out of it so that I could turn it into a cone shape by popping that up. And then I was going to later on cut off the cone point and maybe smush it down to make it look more mushroom cap-like. Now, not only did I visualize how that was going to be constructed as best I could, I sketched it to the best of my ability. So you guys, no pressure to, again, the best of your ability for drawing purposes. But the last step for this project is that I had to draw out 2 6x6 inch, visualizing 6x6 inch squares representing these pieces, okay? Then I mapped out how I'm going to cut up those pieces. As a reminder, do not put a shape floating in the middle of your piece because that will waste all the extra space around it. Instead, put your shapes to the corner or on the far edge so that you are using it very smart and you are not wasting any of your cardboard. So you can see how I have the orange shape kind of cut right there, that pizza pie I planned. The base, I decided to do something more organic like this dark green shape. That curved piece for the stem, I then cut this really long skinny rectangle and scored it so that I can roll it into like a tube. And then the little green pieces, I tore up the little scraps so that it looked like moss or something at the bottom. And then you have a backup piece or extra piece if needed. So this is how your sketches are going to be, and you're going to do this 3 times. So this was just one idea. Now this means you are not allowed to do a mushroom. I did this idea for you guys to understand and to practice. You need to come up with 3 of your own original ideas. Now if you wanted to, yesterday some people did this exact drawing to just better learn. But if you did do that, that does not count as your 5-point idea. Each one of this process 3 times is 5 points each, so it's 15 points for every single project in this class. And I will demo what you are to do for each project, okay? Now that I have this roadmap, though, I'm ready to start transferring my ideas to one of my 6 by 6 inch pieces of cardboard. So something to be aware of, though, is that some of these pieces of cardboard are thinner, more dense than others. So you can see how this piece is pretty dense and thin versus this piece that is a little thicker. See the difference there? And that can be really used intentionally, like for your structure purpose. So I have a few different densities and thicknesses as variety. You guys, I have this variety in the scrap bin box. So see what works best for your form. For some people, maybe the thinner, denser piece will be easier to work with, while other people who plan on tearing off the top skin to reveal that corrugated part, that's probably going to work better with a thicker piece. So if you wanted to do this method where you tear it off and expose those ridges, this thicker piece works better. And that looks pretty cool, right? So what you're going to do, though, to start out, you can take a pencil, and because you already planned this out in your sketchbook, you can, with a pencil or marker, you can start planning how you're using your shapes with this piece. So I'm going to do this, and I'm just freehanding. You're welcome to use any of the rulers in the center of the room to help you with straight edges. Now, one thing about the rulers, guys, I have in the center of the room, I have in the center of the room a container, like a flower pot thing of different plastic rulers and wood rulers and metal rulers. These are ones that sculpture students can use. Sometimes you guys are going to see a grid ruler, a soft plastic grid ruler that looks like this in the center of the room. Sculpture students do not use these. These are for drawing students because they're soft plastic, which means if you try cutting with it, you're going to cut the plastic. These also are grid rulers specialized for drawing, and we're doing architecture drawing, and we need these to be really precise, and we need these to be not messed up with clay. They need to be very clean. So I'm actually putting them aside, but if they do end up back in the same container, please don't use these, okay? So, but you can use any of the ones that look like this, or wood or metal. All right, so then from here, I can, if you want to be precise, like with your scoring, you can measure it out by 1/2 inch or something. Pretend I'm being precise with my ruler. Okay. And from here, and this is, again, after you've pretended to practice with some of these pieces. I am dropping everything. Okay. You guys are going to then, transfer that to that, and you can use 3 different options of tools, or actually 4. There are also scissors in the scissors drawer. So what's going to happen, I want to walk you through how to properly use these tools on a test piece. Then we'll go back to our final piece. I probably should have done that first. And then we'll go from there. So the options that you have for cutting tools, you have a box cutter. On my desk is where all these tools will be found. At the beginning of the hour, I will put them out. And these always live inside my desk. I do not allow floating sharp things around my room. So they usually have a sticky note next to them. Like our X-Acto knives have 14 knives that need to be returned to me at the end of the hour. So I count them at the end of the hour and beginning of the hour to make sure they're all returned. We have 10 box cutters that look like this. Okay. Those are to be returned at the end of the hour. And then I also have 24 scalpels that look like this. So these are going to be all used very carefully, and you are going to return them again at the end of the hour. So a few of these you guys are going to figure out today which one you like the best. I'm going to start out with this box cutter, and I'm going to show you maybe some simple scoring or some simple straight edge cutting. So this is really nice for just doing maybe with a dense plastic ruler. If you have to do some big shapes, you can do it right onto your table, that's fine. But you can cut it, you know, just do a little slit. Now this one's a little dull. And notice, I want you guys to notice that I am cutting not this way. Just any cutting tools, I want you all to get in the habit of always, no matter what tool you use, don't try to curve your hand like this. Instead, curve your cardboard. Turn your cardboard and always put your hand up here, and you can slice towards you, but away from your other hand. So, turning, placement of other hand, and I'm going to slice, 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 slice. And it might take a few slices to get all the way through your cardboard. Hi, I'm happy you made it. Now this is going to take maybe a little bit of wiggling, and you see it didn't go through all the other skin on the other side, so I might have to do it again. As I am just practicing these tools. Now, this is what I switched over from the box cutter to the scalpel. Now, taking a look at this blade, you'll see it's just a disposable scalpel, and that blade is popped on to one side. So you have, with scalpels, you are not to push down hard. This is for slicing and like kind of floating and slicing it very gently. And you can go on the other side too after you maybe do a bend. And the sharp part is where that blade is shiny too, like right on the edge. So make sure you're not using it upside down. And you can be precise with those cuts. Ta-da! Now, this tool and an X-Acto knife are both great for doing curves. This is great for sharp edges. And this is scissors you can be precise with too. So if you've used scissors, I mean, I know all of you have. Again, it's a lot easier. Don't curve your wrist or try to get all weird. That's how you cut yourself and are not precise. Instead, curve your cardboard. Okay? Now, another thing, the scalpels come with little caps. Do not lose these. These are clear-ish. Make sure that you are always returning them with a cap on. These are especially clear. These, please, do not lose these. Make sure you are aware of where it is at all times. An X-Acto knife looks like this. This has a really sharp blade, so I want you guys to be extra careful. These are the sharpest ones. But this is going to be really helpful for really small cutting. So if you wanted to, like, you know, oh yeah, that's like cutting like butter. So this is one that you really will slice you really good if you're not aware. So I'm trying to be aware of like always doing it away from me or always pulling it towards me. But if you're pulling it towards you, don't put your fingers here. Hold above and then work below your fingers, okay? So whatever you do, and it might have to take a little bit of sawing to get through all of it. But you guys are going to get the hang of it. Now, get that piece off. If you have, and when you're done using this, even at your spot, just put the cap right on it. When you are done with like all your pieces, you guys can then, you know, do little slots and tabs, or like let's say I want to stick this through there. You know, you'd make it a little bigger, but that's, you know, can do that type of technique where you do slots and tabs. You might have some little boogers or like burrs or fuzzy parts. In the center of the room, in this basket, I have sanding sponges. And when it comes to craftsmanship for this project, you can actually sand off and clean up those edges, and it makes it nice and smooth too. So that's kind of nice for those points in the rubric. All right. So anyways, basic things there for cutting. Again, you can always tear. You decide on scoring. Again, scoring is when you do just partly through slits, not cutting all the way through. And then you're able to snap it, and then you're able to make curves. Okay, so with that being said, I'm going to return these supplies as if I had them at my spot. Make sure the caps are on good. When you guys are walking with any sharp tools, even though some of them have caps, these do not. Do not hold them out like a dagger when you're walking around the classroom. Make sure you are holding them down towards the floor and close to you, okay? Be aware of your surroundings when people are all working with sharp tools. And be extra careful and aware of your fingers, okay, guys? Now again, then once you have this drawn out, you can start cutting up the pieces, and then you can start assembling them and attaching them using flanges, slots and tabs, slots, or adhere and secure with hot glue. Now hot glue, I'll show you in just a moment where that is. It's in the drawer labeled hot glue. There are outlets along the wall that are above that drawer. You can, you'll also find the glue sticks in there, and I'll talk about that in just a moment. But I'm going to finish up this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing what you do.